Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's me, that Weeb here, back with the final part for What If Naruto Was from Krypton. We're going to get into a review, and then we'll be getting into the rest of this entire story. We'll be doing this for the rest of all of the What Ifs that I'll be doing, that I have currently going on, with finishing What If Naruto Was the Sage of Six Paths reincarnation last, because that's the one you guys all like, obviously, based off of how many people watch it compared to my other videos. Anyway, this will be the final part for this What If, so thank you guys who have appreciated this What If. This will be a long video, definitely, because we're going to be covering all of the original, like the time between the original Naruto and Shippuden. But I think we should get into a recap, as well as something that I probably should have explained more last video. So if you guys remember last time, Itachi, as well as now Naruto, who is a Kryptonian, had slaughtered and killed all of Itachi's fellow kinsmen of the Uchiha. With the Uchiha having fallen, the Sharingan having fallen to the hands of Danzo, the two would flee the village after letting the third Hokage know, as well as doing their own errands before they left. With Itachi taking care of Sasuke to make sure that he carried hatred for him so that he would come find him and kill him. With Naruto going back to his house with Hikaru. I want to explain that something that Naruto and Hikaru are very different in is Hikaru has a very powerful chakra network because he's an Uzumaki and he's like an actual Uzumaki, while the Naruto who's from Krypton actually has a weaker chakra signal because he's from a different planet, and Kurama awakened his chakra paths. So his almost all of his strength and his abilities are not from chakra. Just so we're clear. Anyway, back to where we were last time. Hikaru, Sasuke, as well as Sakura would be on a team together in Team 7 just like the original, with Sasuke and Hikaru both being after their brothers this time. Hikaru in this timeline isn't like the original Naruto, as he's a literally different person. He's a literal different person in general, and he's a lot more calm-minded, but he's also pretty pissed off about what happened with his brother, having taken the Nine Tails and left the village, leaving it pretty much undefended, and also taking a lot of the power that it had once had from the Leaf Village. Now Hikaru, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Sakura are about to be facing against what we know to be the Demon of the Mist Zabuza, as well as his apprentice sidekick of Haku. Before we get into that, however, we need to go and see what's going on with Itachi as well as Naruto, what we know with what they're doing now in the Akatsuki. Let's get into that, as well as the rest of Naruto, for the rest of What If Naruto Was Kryptonian. The sky's dark. As the moon shines ahead, we see two figures standing in its light. Their cloaks covered with red clouds, embraced with white and black clothing surrounding them. One of them has dark black hair, and his eyes are as red as crimson. His auburn crown of flames covers his entire body, as we look down to see that he had just cast a fireball jutsu. He says in a deeper voice that we somehow know to be familiar to us. That should be the last one. Do you think that Toby, or I suppose you could say the Akatsuki, is happy with our work? We would then hear a slightly deeper voice, but still familiar to us as well, say, I think so. I'm getting tired of doing all this stuff for the Akatsuki anyway. We look up to see two figures, Naruto Uzumaki, as well as Itachi Uchiha, covered and wearing the Akatsuki robes, with Naruto carrying a new weapon, Samehara. We have a flashback to before Naruto and Itachi had joined the Akatsuki. So this boy wants to join the Akatsuki, we hear Obito saying, as Itachi and Naruto are both bowing before him respectively. Yes, Naruto would say. He would tell him that he holds half of the Nine Tails' power, with Obito raising an eyebrow wondering where the other half is. Naruto would then say the other half lays in my brother. Itachi would be surprised, as he didn't know that Hikaru had actually had this much of the Nine Tails in him. This was something that only Naruto had known. Minato, which we already know, had died with Naruto being the only one there. When he had died and sealed the Nine Tails within Naruto, he had told Naruto something before he died himself. He said that half of the Nine Tails could be controlled, but if both of them together had it, then it could be completely controlled through all of its power. Naruto would eventually take this to mean that if he had half of the Nine Tails and his brother had half, it could be used against other people, as well as just utilized in general. Before he had left the Akatsuki for the Akatsuki that night, he had used the seal that Minato himself had given him to reseal the Nine Tails. Naruto's chakra might be weak, but he was strong enough to at least to take the seal and seal it inside of Hikaru while he was asleep. The Nine Tails itself was now split into two halves, the good part as well as the bad part, which, the nice Nine Tails and mean Nine Tails. Naruto himself, the current one, would be holding the weaker half of the Nine Tails, as he had given Hikaru the stronger half. Of course, Hikaru had no idea this had actually taken place. Obito himself wouldn't know this, as he would think that Minato himself had done it, and would accept Naruto. He would tell Naruto that they would of course have to extract the Nine Tails, as he had before, and in order to do so, they would need to gather all its chakra for the ritual of the Geto statue. Naruto would understand, but Obito would then mention that they need to gather the other tails first, so for now they'll extract the Nine Tails from him and contain it in a seal, for as long as they can until they have attained the other tailed beasts. Naruto would nod, as he's about to give Obito the seal key to open his seal. Obito would then say, see, we already have another candidate that was going to be Itachi's partner before you arrived. Step out, Kisame. Kisame would step out from the shadows and into the light, as we see Naruto in shock seeing this fish-like man with a sword. Ah, yes, so this is Itachi, my future partner, and the scum of a Jinchuriki that I must kill. Obito would nod as he says, Kisame and Naruto, you two will fight it out. Whoever survives or beats the other will win and be able to join the Akatsuki. Immediately, Itachi would be warped away along with Obito as they appear higher up in some sort of stands. Kisame would look down at this Naruto as Naruto stands up staring at him, his yellow and blonde mixed hair with blue eyes locking in on Kisame. I'm sorry, Kisame, that you had to die here. What? Kisame would say as he begins to laugh. Suddenly, Naruto would fly into the air, floating gently. Obito would be actually impressed with this, as only the Sage of the Six Paths was able to fly. He would then look down at Kisame and say, your time on this world now ends. Naruto, having fully committed himself to help Itachi, as well as save his younger brother and Sasuke, and help the Leaf Village from the shadows, had already begun. He blasts through his eyes heat ray vision towards Kisame, who swipes at this with his sword, expecting to be some sort of chakra or fire jutsu. Kisame is immediately swiped away, as it began to glow red hot from the heat from his eyes. What? Kisame would say, as Naruto comes flying in with a kick from up top. As he comes in with a flying axe blade kick, slicing down, Kisame can only hold up Sameharu's blade as he tries to block it. Sameharu is shattered in half as it screams in pain, feeling itself be cracked from such power. There's no way. There's not a physical force strong enough in this world to break Sameharu. How could you, without even using any sort of chakra amplification, be... Suddenly, Kisame is sent flying through the wall as he's punched out of the entire Akatsuki building by Naruto, who's pulsating with power from the sun. As they now go into the sunlit area, with Kisame now in a field below, he decides he needs to hide it out and find more about this kid's powers. As Naruto begins rushing into the field below, trying to not let Kisame escape, Kisame hides behind trees. Little did he know, however, that Naruto has X-ray vision as well. He opens his eyes, he begins scanning through the area, and finds Kisame. Got you. Suddenly, he shoots heat ray vision directly at cutting the tree in half, with Kisame's back getting burned from severe burns, in fact, as he falls to the ground. Kisame would be in extreme pain, as blood is boiling inside of him. He decides he's going to need to merge with Sameharu in order for him to even have enough chakra to be able to beat this kid. As he begins to merge with Sameharu, Naruto would say, really? You think you can do that when I'm around? He would suddenly begin to take in a deep breath. As he breathes out, Naruto's frost breath would completely freeze the area over, as now Kisame is completely frozen in ice, with Sameharu now broken away from him. Sameharu would wriggle over to Naruto, now realizing who has stronger chakra and is stronger in general. Naruto would pick up the blade as it forms together, deciding that it was the perfect weapon for him. After it had hit him before when he punched it, it had absorbed some of his chakra. This hadn't weakened him, however, as Naruto doesn't really use chakra when he fights. This is the perfect weapon for me, Kisame. Kisame would begin to shake. No. Sorry, Kisame, but Haru is mine now. As he does this, Naruto would then use his heat ray vision to melt Kisame inside of the ice, as the ice, along with Kisame, melt into a boiling puddle of nothing and mush, as Kisame's body is completely evaporated. Kisame has now passed from this world, Obito would say, with Naruto standing there now swinging Samehara around, putting it back into its wrappings before he swings it over onto his back. And now, we can begin the extraction. Naruto snaps back to it as he sees Itachi and him almost come done with burning this village. After the years now that he's been on the Akatsuki for the past 3, he still thinks about his brother Hikaru all the time, as Itachi must think about Sasuke just as much. Itachi and Naruto continue to travel from now this burning village which they had done for Obito, to meet back at the Akatsuki lair. Everyone's back, they would say. Yes, Obito would mention. Itachi and Naruto have not been reporting back to the Leaf yet, as Obito's been keeping an eye on them. Itachi and Naruto were both spies for the Leaf Village in this version. Naruto and Itachi were now currently in the phase where the Akatsuki is trying to get their name out there, and now the two of them have been assisting with that by burning villages as well as working for the Stone and other ninja villages that have been forcing them to fight against each other. The Akatsuki is slowly but surely becoming a greater threat to this world, Obito would say, with now Pain standing behind him, or Nagato, with his Rinnegan. He would look out at the fellow Akatsuki members who had gathered, and say that they'll be watching this year's Chunin exams, which will be coming up very soon. Naruto and Itachi would nod, as we then fade out of the picture, back to where we were before, with Hikaru, with Sasuke, Sakura, and team captain Yuki Hyuga, which you are, if you've watched the last part, you would know, was the teammate that had been on Itachi and Naruto's team back when they were still Genin and before they became Chunin. Well, Itachi was on Anbu, I guess, before they had abandoned the village. Now we see Yuki, as well as Team 7, on the ground with Zabuza standing there, about to attack them. Yuki would stand up as she tells her team to get back, with her immediately activating her Byakugan. Zabuza would say, "Aha, yes, a wielder of the Byakugan, perfect for my battle against one of the Leaf Ninja." Yuki would then say that there's no way that she's going to let this guy ruin their mission, especially one of their first missions as Team 7. Hikaru would yell out for Yuki, as well as Sasuke telling her to be careful. Sakura would be protecting Tazuna while they begin the fight. As Yuki charges in, she begins to turn her fingers into pin-like missiles almost, as she begins pouncing onto Zabuza, by wrapping around him as well as piercing each of his chakra points. Damn Hyuga style, I hate this taijutsu. He would swing his sword as he creates a water clone, pushing her off of him as he falls back. Hyugas, you always are quite annoying getting up close. Well, as long as you keep back, there's no way that you can defeat me. Yuki would then say, "Are you sure about that?" as she creates an air palm jutsu, shooting 3 air palm jutsus towards him, hitting them with his sword to slash them in half. Haku would be watching from the background as Zabuza's and Yuki's fight would continue to take place. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura would be watching as Yuki is actually winning this fight. With her Byakugan, which is much more sustainable than Kakashi's Sharingan from the original, she's actually able to overpower this version of Zabuza, as well as push him back. As she flies in using her taijutsu skills and piercing chakra points, spinning back and forth in a very aromatic style, she is almost about to defeat him. Just as Zabuza is about to fall to the ground, he then says, "Got you," as one of her foot has fallen into the lake. She's captured inside the water prison jutsu, as she says for Team 7 to stay back. Sasuke and Haru would immediately get into the fight, as they charge in, running towards Zabuza, who has his hand still in the water prison jutsu. As they begin rushing towards him, Haru immediately activates his Uzumaki chains, which begin to wrap around him and Sasuke into the water. "Oh, an Uzumaki, huh? I haven't seen one of your kind in a long time," Zabuza would say, as Haru would then say, "And I'll be the last one you see too," as he shoots a chain forward, about to pierce into Zabuza. Zabuza would move around as his hand is still inside the prison jutsu. Sasuke would rush forward as he then creates the fireball jutsu as he throws it out, shooting it out of his mouth using the jutsu. As this is when they begin to use their team combo. Haru would use his Uzumaki style sealing jutsu to seal the fireball that Sasuke made the second time, and just as Zabuza slashes through the first one, he releases the seal, causing it to burst inside of Zabuza's face, sending him flying back. The water prison jutsu releases, as Yuki then says it's time for her to get serious. Sasuke and Naruto fall into the water below, as they pull themselves up, quickly getting back to the surface, and rushing back to the beach area. Yuki would then begin to tell Zabuza there's no way she's going to let him beat her anymore, as she then activates her jutsu. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. She gets in close as she begins to activate the Hyuga jutsu. 1 palm, 8 palm, 16 palm. As she continues to shout how many palms have now hit, the slamming sound of her fingers piercing into the chakra veins deep inside of Zabuza as chakra points begin to become deactivated. 64 palms. She slams into him as he goes flying backwards, twisting and whirling as he hits the other side of the beach. She would then say that he's been defeated, with many of his internal organs having actually been damaged. This is when Haku would suddenly appear and save Zabuza, telling her that he'll deal with this. This is one of the Anbu of the Mist Village, you would think, telling the Team 7 that they're fine for now and they can let them handle this. She falls back as she falls into the beach, with Sakura asking if she's okay. She would say she's fine as she deactivates her Byakugan, saying she only overexerted how much chakra she had used during that fight. Sasuke, as well as Haru, would pick her up and help her to Tazuna's house, along with Sakura, aiding Tazuna. As they get back, she begins her recovery, as they all take a break for a few days. After 2 days, Yuki's Byakugan is healed up to the point where she is able to use it again functionally. She would take her Team 7 with Haru, Sasuke, and Sakura as they walk outside to begin their training before the Demon of the Mist Zabuza arrives again, having them already determined that the Anbu that had taken Zabuza before he had been finished off was actually a fake, as most Anbus would do their work directly on the spot instead of teleporting away like that. She guessed that they had maybe a week at most, as the internal organ damage she had done to Zabuza was far more than what Kakashi had done to him in the original, which was basically outside bodily damage instead of physical organ damage. As the team begins training for the tree walking exercise, as well as working on their chakra control, obviously Haru is the one who does the best. Haruko, as we already know, he has an Uzumaki, and he already has mastery over several sealing jutsu as well as his chakra chains, which means he has high amounts of chakra control already, just naturally from what he can do. This means that he would be the best, after him would be Sakura and then Sasuke. As Yuki explains the tree walking exercise, she would stand on the tree and walk her way up, back and forth, showing how her chakra control by using her feet as some sort of stabilizer between her and the tree itself and their chakra networks between them. This is when Haruko would then try it out for himself, and he gets it at perfect time, his red hair flowing in the wind as he climbs up as far as he can, looking into the blue sky. He runs back all the way down the tree and tells Sasuke and Sakura that it's pretty easy, with both of them giving it a shot and the first time failing. Sasuke would get frustrated almost immediately, as after a few hours he's pissed off that Haruko could actually do something that he couldn't. Eventually Sasuke would grasp it, as the jutsu becomes more natural to him. After a few days of them training with this tree-walking jutsu, Haruko, as well as Sasuke and Sakura, would meet up with Yuki as they were going to head to the bridge. Haruko would stay behind, just like Naruto did in the original. He would stay back as he would save Tazuna's grandson, just like he did in the original, along with his mother. And now Haruko would meet up back at the bridge. Yuki, Sasuke, and Sakura, who have already arrived at the bridge with Tazuna, would see the mist rolling in. They'd be wondering where Haruko was. He said he'd catch up to them later. As Zabuza and this Anbu from last time appear, Haku would eventually meet up, having not met Haruko in the forest as he didn't have to stay out that late this time, due to him already grasping the jutsu and not passing on the forest. This will be the first time that we actually see Haku without his Anbu mask on, as he begins to fight with Sasuke. This is when Yuki would begin to hit her battle with Zabuza, fighting back and forth using her own style of the Hyuga Palm Jutsu as well as just using the Gentle Fist style. As the two Sasuke and Yuki are fighting, Sakura is being Sakura, useless, and just sitting in the corner by Tazuna. Eventually, Haruko would show up, seeing Sasuke beginning to struggle against Haku, as Haruko dives in onto the battle. As he flies in into the battle, he uses his chakra chains to wrap around the bridge, the sound of metal clanging on stone, as he pulls himself up, almost looking sort of like Spider-Man, if that can give you an image. As he climbs up and shoots one of his chakra chains down to the bridge below, causing a crater to appear from it, he pulls himself in at maximum force, shooting himself directly into Haku. As he forces himself forward, his feet go flying into Haku's back, sending him flying backwards. And as Sasuke tells him it took him long enough, he would smile as he turns back to Sasuke, telling him that he got here in time, though, right? As he then turns around to see Haku coming back in for another attack. Haku uses one-handed style jutsu, which is impressive as neither Sasuke or Haru had actually ever seen that before. As he uses this jutsu, Sasuke and Haruko would both dive out of the way, with it blasting some ice away without touching either of them. This is when we would have Haku activate his Kekkei genkai, sealing all three of them inside of the crystal ice mirrors. This is when both Haru and Sasuke would go back to back with each other, looking out at the mirrors in front of them. Sasuke's black hair touching Haru's red. As suddenly a senbon comes flying out from one of the mirrors, Naruto's chain, which would be wrapped around all of them, with him and Sasuke in some sort of chain barrier, would twist as it wraps to block the senbon. Naruto has around 4 or 5 chains he can use right now, and efficiently, and he's using these to block as many of the senbon as he can, as well as try and catch Haku before he can get to the next mirror. Haku, however, is too fast, as we already know that Haku in the mirror can move almost light speed. Haru continues to flick his chains as the Uzumaki chains begin to wrap around him and Sasuke tighter, as he can't keep this up forever with the senbon flying at them. Sasuke would try his best as well to deflect them with his kunai, while Haru is just focusing on not letting either of them get hit. A senbon gets through and hits Haru in the shoulder, as well as one into Sasuke. Sasuke and Haru begin to get pelted by them, as Haru feels his chakra levels waning. Sasuke, I can't keep this up much longer. I'm going to have to retract my chains. Sasuke would nod and tell him that to do what he must, and that they're going to take this guy down anyway. Haru would immediately deactivate his chains as he feels a sigh of relief as his chakra pools begin to refill. He sighs as he then looks up to see that this person, Haku, is still moving around, and he sees senbon flying at him and Sasuke. Suddenly a barrage of senbon come flying out as they begin to pierce into Sasuke and Haru's bodies, both of them screaming out in pain. Suddenly, Sasuke leaps in front of Haru, as out of nowhere, a ton of senbon come flying into Sasuke's chest, looking as if though he dies. Sasuke falls to the ground, as blood begins to pour out of him. He looks up to Haru, as he says, with his one Tomoe Sharingan that have been activated, that he must carry on their dream, and he must kill Itachi, his brother, and Naruto, his older brother, for him. Sasuke would tell Haru to do his best in order to completely defeat the Akatsuki, of which Itachi and his own brother Naruto had joined. As Sasuke whispers his final dream to his friend and close ally, Haru would let Sasuke's head fall to the ground as he closes his eyes for the last time. Sasuke, he would think, as suddenly the chakra chains of the Uzumaki began to flow from around him into 9 different chains. Suddenly, red chakra begins to flow out of Haru, as suddenly the Nine Tails power emanates from him. He awakens his eyes, as suddenly large pupils begin to form, looking almost cat-like, as his whiskers have become even more elongated and darkened. His hair is beginning to grow more spiky and red, like the fox itself. With a duality voice of deep and light, mixed of Haru as well as Kurama's voice, he would then say, "You killed my only friend, my comrade, Sasuke!" He would dive forward, moving at such lightning-fast speeds that not even Haku can keep up. The 9 chakra chains that he has surrounding him, coming around from his back, all the way around him, are covered with Nine Tails energy, as he wraps them around Haku, twisting them and tightening them as hard as he can. Haku feels all of his ribs beginning to break and shatter slowly, as the tightness of the chain mixed with this poisonous chakra surrounding him. Naruto would then begin to twist his chain around, as he begins spinning Haku's body, as he then roars, sending Haku flying into the battle against Yuki, as well as Zabuza. Haku, in his final moments, would see that Yuki's about to finish off Zabuza with an 8 trigram 64 palms attack. As she's about to finish her attack, and she uses both her palms into the final slam, Haku's body is hit on the impact, as it goes flying back, now having been completely destroyed. Haku's left side of his face is completely mushed in, as he looks like a completely deformed version of himself. As he lies there, his left lung is already pierced by his rib, and he slowly has his ragged breathing slowing until eventually he passes on to the next world. Zabuza would look back as he sees his close friend and ally, Haku, now being defeated. At this point, there's nothing he can say. Haru would have been passed out from the pain as well as of accessing so much Nine-Tails chakra for the first time. Yuki would have seen the Nine-Tails energy flowing out of this boy who reminded her so much of Naruto back in her days when she had been a genin herself. Haru would stand up as he would tell Zabuza the same speech that Naruto would have told him in the original. As Gato's men arrive on the bridge, Zabuza decides with his final moments as a shinobi, he'll avenge Haku and take what he had learned from him to become a kinder person and destroy Gato and his men. He rushes forward with his executioner blade, swinging as fast as he can, lopping off any limbs as well as finishing off and beating down all of Gato's men. As he finally comes to Gato, Gato falls out off of the bridge and into the river, where he passes on to the next world. As Zabuza, now bloodied and beaten, would fall over next to Haku, looking into his eyes. Haku's cold eyes would remind him of the snow that he once found the young boy in himself. As snow begins to fall over the land of waves, we now fall down, as we hear Haru screaming over Sasuke's body. Sasuke would begin to breathe a little. As he hears this, Haru would hold his head close to Sasuke's chest, and he could hear his heart beating. Immediately, before anyone had time to react, he would hold his hand over Sasuke as he begins to use his Fujin Jutsu, or Sealing Jutsu. He seals all of the senbon that Sasuke has into one single senbon before throwing it away. Now, with Sasuke bleeding, he pulls out bandages and begins wrapping him around with these bandages. Sasuke would be laying there, as Haru, as well as Sakura, Sasuke, and Yuki would leave the bridge with Tazuna. Yuki would say to Hikaru, as she asks him how Hikaru Uzumaki, had gone through his first mission. He told Yuki-sensei that she can just call him Haru, like everyone else does. He would then say that that mission was dark. It was the first time he's ever felt anything like it before in his entire life. This is the first time he ever left the village, in fact. As they get back to the Leaf Village, him, Sasuke, as well as Sakura would get back to their own areas of the village, where they would rest as well as contemplate what had occurred during the Land of Waves. Haru would be thinking about what had happened back then. Him standing on the bridge, staring up at the demon of the mist Zabuza. As he says these final words, "Even us shinobi are humans, no matter how much we try to escape that fact." As Zabuza whispers these words, suddenly Haru wakes up as daylight strikes through his window. He pulled himself out of bed as he opens the door and walks down as he jumps from his home down to the area of the streets below. He decides he's going to go meet up with Sasuke for some training, as they haven't had a good spar in a while. As Haru begins to rush over towards where Sasuke's house is, eventually he would run into Konohamaru as well as Sakura. As he runs into both of them, he decides he'll hang out with them for a bit instead. With him walking around with both of them, he'd eventually notice that Sasuke had actually found him instead. As he looks up and meets eye contact with Sasuke, who quickly dives into the brush further up in the tree. As they continue to walk, Konohamaru suddenly crashes into someone from the Sand Village, as Haru can tell from the headband that he's wearing. Kankuro would stand there as he sees this brat rush into him. "Hey, watch where you're going, you stupid kid." God, some people don't even mind their manners around this village, he would say, as Kankuro would look around at his sister Tamari and his brother Gaara. Gaara would be staring at Haru, as he can tell that this kid's got some sort of interesting power, simply based on how his stature is, as well as he can sense some incredible chakra from him. This is when Haru would look up using his sensory abilities. He could tell that this kid in front of him with red hair, just like him, was playing host to another tailed beast. He couldn't tell exactly which one, but it had great power. As Gaara would tell Kankuro to leave them alone, saying and asking what his name was. "My name? It's Hikaru Uzumaki. but you can call me Haru if you want. Gaara would look up and say that Haru and whoever's trying to hide in the tree up there, both of you will fall by my hand in these coming Chunin exams. As he turns around walking away, we see Haru have a flashback from many episodes ago where we see Naruto as well as Itachi leaving for the Sand Village for their Chunin exams. Did he say Chunin exams? Sasuke would jump down as he says, yeah, those ones, as both of them are ready and waiting, excited for their own version of the Chunin exams. The two of them would head over to meet with Yuki-sensei and ask her about what was going on at the Chunin exams this year. Yuki would respond with a dry smile as she looks at her young team of genin, who have only about been a team for a few weeks now. She would ask them if they really think they're ready for the Chunin exams. Both Haru and Sasuke would stare at her intently as they nod. Sakura would look a little nervous at first, but then as she sees Sasuke's confidence as well as her other teammate Haru, she decides that she'll give it her best shot too, even if her best shot's pretty much doing nothing. Shots fired. But anyway, as the team all agree that they want to take place in the Chunin exams, Yuki would send a note to the third Hokage, letting him know that her team would be willing to participate, as well as that she has some other news she wants to discuss with him. Later that same day, the rest of the team said to be ecstatic that they're entering the Chunin exams, with Sakura a little bit let down that she has to do another fight so soon after the Battle of Zabuza. With Sasuke and Haru returning to their normal training area that they had been going to for years now, their spar begins. Before that, though, we see Yuki walking to the third Hokage's office and saying that she needs to talk to him alone. Hiruzen would tell everyone in the room to leave, knowing that Yuki has some important news as she has never done something like this before. Lord Third, the news that I had sent about in the letter before, I need to let you know that Hikaru Uzumaki is now the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. Hiruzen would be shocked with this claim, asking her how or where she came up with this idea. She would look down and says that during their mission at the Land of Waves, during their battle with Zabuza and Haku, Hikaru, or Haru, had unlocked the Nine-Tails chakra after an extreme bout of rage after seeing his friend Sasuke felled by a fellow shinobi. When Hiruzen listens intently, she would then go on to explain how the chakra became red-like as it exploded around him, becoming visible to the naked eye. Even without her Byakugan, the chakra that was flowing inside of him was so raging it was like a storm. Hiruzen would listen to this and say that if that's really true, then they need to figure out why, because according to them, Naruto Uzumaki, the adopted son of the fourth Hokage, had left with the Nine-Tails years ago along with Itachi Uchiha as a fellow spy. They'd been willing to gamble the Nine-Tails to this new group, the Akatsuki, in order to see and get their trust for more intel. Apparently, he didn't like the idea of leaving the leaf unprotected. Hiruzen would contemplate this and say he'll need time to think about what to do on further matters and if he should keep this hidden or not. Yuki would nod as she says that she'll report back to her team and let them know that they're accepted for the Chunin exams. Third Hokage would nod and tell her to go on, as everyone else enters back into the room, not having heard their conversation. Back to Haru and Sasuke's fight. Suddenly, a metal chain covered with golden chakra flies past Sasuke's head, as he grabs onto it, shoving a kunai in between the chain link and throwing himself down the chain at full speed, sending a kick towards Haru. As Sasuke activates his Sharingan, now having unlocked his own Kekkei Genkai, he can easily copy Haru's movements as well as avoid them before he even makes them. Haru speeds up as he creates 3 more chains, almost reaching his limit, as he begins to shoot them around, moving them in aerodynamic ways that Sasuke himself was having a hard time predicting. As he has laid them into the grass so that Sasuke can't see them, as Sasuke takes one step forward, he says, "Got you." Immediately he tightens his hand as he twists them, throwing them into an X-like shape, as suddenly all the chains fly into the air and wrap around Sasuke tightly, causing him to be bound. As his chakras begin to drain, his Sharingan deactivates, him not realizing that Haru could actually turn off the chakra that covers the chains and just almost make them appear motionless. He would then tell Haru that he was impressed this time, and if he's ready for round 3. They both have 1 win on each other now. Haru would smile and say definitely as he releases the chains. Both of them would take a few steps back as they decided to go all out from the start this time, not wanting to let the other one beat the other. As soon as they begin, Haru throws a kunai towards Sasuke. Sasuke easily blocks this kunai of his own, almost like as if though it was moving in slow motion. He then charges forward towards Haru. Haru's red hair blocks the sun from his eyes as soon as Sasuke strikes with his own kunai, trying to jab it towards Haru. Haru takes his bare hand, grabs the kunai, and then throws it out of Sasuke's hand, pulling it out of his own strength. His hand has a few cuts on it now, as he and Sasuke get into a taijutsu bout. He throws a punch towards Sasuke, who catches it and pushes him up into the air using a kick. Sasuke then jumps after Haru, who, now in the air, uses his Kekkei genkai of the Uzumaki chains. As he uses the Uzumaki chain, he shoots one out towards Sasuke, making him to dodge out of the air midway, using a fireball jutsu to push himself away from the attack. Haru has other tricks up his sleeve, however, as soon as Sasuke turns around, he realizes that Naruto had thrown a seal. A paper tag, which he had thought had been a paper bomb, was actually a seal. As it releases, suddenly, tons of kunai begin shooting out towards Sasuke. Sasuke is barely able to block and dodge several of them, as one of them nicks his shoulder. He falls back as he tells Haru that he's going really hard on him today. Haru would tell him that Sasuke that he's not going to let him win this one, as they begin charging towards each other, both thinking that they're going to become Chunin after the Chunin exams. As the two now rush into each other, we see their fists fly towards each other's faces, as they both collapse into each other with a single strike, both of them knocking out and falling to the floor. When both of them come to, they both laugh, saying that I guess no one wins this time, as now both of them have 30 ties and 30 wins each, having a total of 90 battles. As the two of them decide that they're going to head up to their own places to go eat and relax, Sasuke and Haru would split up as they head home. Haru would be thinking about his brother, Naruto, and what he might be doing right now. He gets home and he looks at the picture frame on his windowsill, as he already knows that his father was the 4th Hokage, and he thinks about why his older brother would do something like this. Everyone in the village already knows that Haru is the 4th Hokage's son, and he wasn't the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, so he never really had trouble with anyone in the village as a young child. However, his older brother Naruto did. He was always different. We have a small flashback where we see a young Haru holding his older brother's hand as they're walking through the village. Many of the villagers are avoiding their gaze of Naruto, as they say hi to Haru as he's walking along with him. He never got to meet his parents, but Naruto used to tell him that his father, Minato, was the strongest shinobi ever, and that he had protected the village for a long time. Haru would slowly fall asleep as he has a quick memory of him wandering into the Uchiha side of the village and seeing what his brother had done. Charred buildings with shapes that only his brother could make using his heat ray vision. Frost covering the buildings as well as bodies of the fellow Uchihas who had died there. And his own friend Sasuke, laying on the ground in pain, suffering from his own older brother's trauma. As he remembers that his brother had left and abandoned the village. Why? As he wakes up, he awakens hearing a knock at his door. Sasuke and Sakura are banging on, telling him to get up. Haru quickly throws on his jumper, which is black and orange, similar to what his own brother had worn before he had turned traitor. As Haru jumps up, he's ready to go, opening the door and telling Sasuke and Sakura he's awake. He would quickly eat ramen as he throws it into a garbage can before he finally makes it to the building. As he and Sasuke, along with Sakura, enter inside, he immediately begins to feel all of the sensory as he opens his sensory abilities up to the maximum. He can already sense 2 powerful shinobi around that are probably Genin that'll be heading into this examination with them. Immediately he turns around sensing them, and one of them he sees is wearing a green jumpsuit, the other one has some sort of tan outfit, the other with eyes that almost appear pearl-like with their color and texture. As he and Sasuke, along with Sakura, would enter the building, they would eventually realize by climbing the floors that this was some sort of genjutsu. Sasuke, along with Haru, would easily break this, with Sakura doing the same due to her potential in genjutsu. Once they break through this seemingly easy genjutsu and enter the room, having seemingly been their first task, they would eventually run into Neji, as well as Lee, who Naruto had sensed earlier. Neji would scoff as they walk past, saying that it's a shame that the son of one of the Hokage, as well as one of the Uchiha, had betrayed the village so easily, and he wondered if the brothers of those traitors might actually follow in their footsteps someday. Haru and Sasuke immediately turn around, as both of them look pissed off immediately, for different reasons, with Sasuke knowing for a fact that everything they said is true about Itachi, and Haru pissed that they just dissed his own brother, as well as Sasuke. "You take that back," Haru would say, as he looks directly into Neji's eyes. Neji would laugh as he asked if this low-born, common rat could actually beat him. Haru would then say that even though his father was a Kage, that's not the one who's going to put Neji into the ground. As he says this with a dark tone, Neji says, as he laughs, "Ooh, I'm so scared." Sasuke would then stare at Neji, as well as Lee, Lee's trying to defuse the situation, as he doesn't really want to fight. Lee would then say we can just settle this out in the arena, with him then challenging Sasuke to a fight. Sasuke actually, in this version, beats Lee as they begin their battle. As soon as Rock Lee begins to charge towards Sasuke, who's used to reading people with far more aerodynamic movements, such as Haru, easily dodges out of Lee's taijutsu kicks, as he uses his own style with the Sharingan to copy Lee, and then use his taijutsu against him, putting Lee into the ground and showing truly that these two genin are actually pretty strong. Haru and Sasuke would walk away, with Neji thinking that Lee really is a loser. Lee would be amazed of how strong Sasuke is, and seeing the two of them walk away, he knows that Haru and Sasuke will be the competition to beat in this year's Chunin exams, as Lee hadn't used any of the gates yet due to Guy's intervention. The team of Might Guy would then walk into the area itself, as all Team 7 and the rest of the genin would finally arrive. As they get into the room, they would then be announced that their first Chunin examination would take place. Gaara, as well as Neji, Sasuke, and Haru would all see each other in the room. Suddenly, Kabuto is dropped to the floor, as we see several other ninja picking on Kabuto just like they did in the original, with Kabuto trying to defend himself. "Hey, leave him alone," Haru would say, as he puts his hand out telling them to back off. They would laugh, saying, "Small fry stick with small fry anyway," as this was his 5th time entering, apparently, the Chunin exams. Kabuto would look down in shame, as he would then thank Haru for the help. Haru would help Kabuto up, as he then says don't let those guys get to him, and that he'll do better this year, he knows it. Kabuto would smile, with some sort of grimace behind it, almost as if though there was something behind it more. He quickly wipes a smile off his face, however, as he looks up with his eyes wincing as he would tell Haru thanks for the encouragement, as Haru would nod, telling him to do his best. As he walks away, we see Kabuto's glasses shining with that light in them as he sees his 2 targets, Sasuke Uchiha, as well as the Uzumaki Kekkei. Haru is walking into the next room where they're instructed to go by this strange man with scars all over his face and a towel that's black wrapped over his head. He seems to have no hair either, and seems to have several burns on him, marking himself as a true veteran. As the genin all sit themselves down at tables, with Haru ending up next to a girl in his class, Hinata, who is apparently related to his master Yuki. Apparently she's her younger cousin or something. Haru is then snapped back into focus as the man standing in front of them would begin to talk about what their examination would be for the first phase of the Chunin examinations. "You'll be taking a test. In this test, you have to take analytical questions and use situations that you might have to face in your actual life as a shinobi. If you're caught cheating, then you lose the examination, as well as you're kicked out of this year's Chunin exams for this quarter." This is when Haru would gulp, as he's ready for this test. The papers are passed out and everyone's sitting down. As soon as the test begins, Haru's looking down at the sheet and can see 4 of the questions that he can get right. He answers all the questions he knows he can do before he goes back to the ones he works on. He decides he's going to have to cheat, as this exam is prone to test their shinobi abilities of gathering information, as he and Sasuke both deduce. He closes his eyes using his sensory abilities, raising them to the absolute maximum. As he can basically see everything going on, he can feel the movements in the air, feel the emotions of people inside, and can also check to see who feels stressed and who feels ease with this test. He suddenly senses someone in the back left corner as he zooms in using his sensor abilities in this one spot. He hears it, feels it, and feels the air pressure of the waves of the pencil from this specific person. Suddenly, Haru would open his eyes as he begins to write down all the answers he can feel from this person in the room. As he finishes his sheet, he flips it over, with Hinata being amazed seeing him finish the test so quickly, as well as she blushes looking down as she begins working harder, finishing just a bit after Hikaru did. Haru would look back as he sees Sasuke, and sees that he's already done too. He would then lay on his desk with his paper flipped over, as he calmly waits for the rest of the test to finish. With the final question now being asked, he would have to agree as he does in the original, not too worried about it. The other genin from the original would quit just like they had before, and Haru would pass along with the rest of Team 7. As Team 7 passes on to the next examination, Anko would enter the room as she begins to explain the second part of the Chunin exams. They would head down to the Forest of Death as Anko says that this one isn't going to be any sissy test and that they're going to have to actually work their hardest using jutsu and fighting. This is when Haru would get excited as he pounds his fist into his other hand, telling Sasuke this is what he's been talking about. Gaara would be standing there calmly as he walks in with Kankuro and Tamari to getting into his team. As the teams begin to walk near the forest, Anko would begin to explain the test. In this situation, there isn't a situation that occurs with Anko, Orochimaru, and Naruto like it would be in the original. Instead, everything goes smoothly with Orochimaru not even being noticed. As Haru takes his own team's scroll, they see that they get a heaven scroll and that they'll need to find an earth one. The team decides that they'll head over to the northeast corner where they're assigned, as Team 7 rushes over there. With Haru before the test telling Sasuke he can use his sensory abilities to actually track anyone who might have an earth scroll. Sasuke tells him that with his visual jutsu he had seen 2 teams get an earth scroll, one of which had been from the grass village. He tells him to look over to the west side of the dome area, as he then uses his sensory abilities to zoom over there. As he zooms in on this area using his sensory, he eventually would find them and says he's got a chakra lock on them, telling him that he has their signals on lockdown. Sakura would laugh as she and Sasuke would nod, saying they're ready for this test. As soon as the buzzer alarms, the doors open and they rush into the forest, as the canopy above begins to throw shadows across, seeing snakes and other creatures wandering in this forest, seemingly completely separate from the Leaf Village. As Haru, Sasuke, and Sakura continue their way into the Forest of Death, they continue to find more and more adversaries on their path. They fight their way through all the brush, as well as the trees, the wildlife, and animals that get in their way. They eventually decide to take a little break. As Hikaru is deciding to take a rest, he goes to the bathroom, just like Naruto would have done in the original. As Hikaru goes, he senses someone behind him is about to jump him. As he turns around, but barely even looking, he activates a chakra chain and wraps it around this person's neck, dragging them and throwing them down from the tree above them, as they're coughing and gagging as he pulls them towards them, absorbing their chakra and neutralizing the threat. He would take their scroll, and as he does so, he would then return to Sasuke and Sakura, telling him that he got a little gift for them on his way out. Sasuke would say they did a good job, and as he says that they should probably come up with a password from now on to make sure that they don't get infiltrated by any other enemy forces. They would decide on a password which Hikaru would remember, obviously, as all 3 of them decide to get into the forest. As they continue to walk more into deeper of the woods itself, they would all, with Hikaru sensing first, would sense malice. Sasuke, do you feel that? Sasuke would turn around and he says, "Feel what?" As Sakura and Sasuke begin to feel a pressure begin to fall upon them. Hikaru would grunt as he begins to feel his body weighed down from fear. Sasuke, this chakra, it's so heavy and dense. It's so dark. Sasuke would ask Hikaru, "Where is it? Where is this? What is this coming from?" As they both turn around, suddenly the forest begins to shake and rumble as a ginormous snake comes flying through and eats Hikaru, sending him deeper into the woods as he goes tumbling away from the rest of the group. As Orochimaru slides off, jumping in front of Sasuke as well as Sakura, Sasuke would mumble as he says, Who are you?" We then see Hikaru and the snake as he's getting pulled out now away from that fear and pressure. What was that, he would think, as he then pulls a kunai out and slashes inside the snake, causing blood to spurt from its innards. He would then push chains out from all sides of him as he bursts out of the snake, as the snake itself goes ripping apart. He then decides to get back to Sasuke to help with that threat, as he runs from tree to tree, swinging from them. As he eventually gets back, he sees Sasuke standing there. Just as he's about to get hit, he says, "Sasuke, move!" Sasuke would dive out of the way as Orochimaru comes flying past. Sasuke would say he's fine now and tell Hikaru that you got here just in time, as the 2 begin to fight Orochimaru together. Hikaru comes flying in as he activates 2 chains that wrap around himself, pulling him from tree to tree, using them as vines. Ah, yes, the Uzumaki Kekkei of chakra sealing chains. Very interesting, Orochimaru would say, as he then says that he'll have to study this more. Orochimaru suddenly appears, almost blitzing as Hikaru didn't even see him coming. He flicks Hikaru, who goes flying back, as he then says that he's not that strong. He quickly activates the sealing jutsu on the bottom of his foot, which hits the tree. As he falls down, he then says, "Sasuke now." Sasuke would shoot a fireball jutsu, which would push Orochimaru back. Hikaru would then deactivate the seal, as suddenly blades begin to shoot out of it as they fly towards Orochimaru. Ah, yes, a weapon seal. Very advanced for someone your age, especially at your level. The kunai easily fly past as he morphs his body snake-like, weaving through the blades. Damn it, this guy. I'll have to go all out, he would think, as he's beginning to get more aggravated from this power, as well as Sasuke overpowering him while he's not. He says, "Sasuke, behind." Sasuke would dodge his head out of the way as a chain comes flying from directly behind him, Orochimaru not seeing as it's about to pierce directly into him. Orochimaru would take his own kunai out to not let the chain touch him as it goes flying away, hitting into a tree as it crashes into the forest. This is when Hikaru would jump up, as he then tells Sasuke that he's had enough of this guy as he begins to get into an all-out taijutsu fight with Orochimaru. He continues to get faster and faster as he feels his sensory abilities waning as he's focusing more on the battle than on anything else going on around him. Suddenly, a giant snake is summoned as Orochimaru shoots it towards Hikaru. As the snake's about to pierce into Hikaru and send him flying back, maybe even killing him, suddenly he has a small vision. He sees a cage, which he had never seen before, and a large orange fox inside of him, with red fur looking into his eyes, with eyes full of hatred and malice. Suddenly, Hikaru would wake up as he sees himself covered with energy, his eyes having changed to a bright red crimson, just as bright as his hair color. "Sasuke! I'll take this guy. Take Sakura and run!" Sasuke would see Naruto's eyes and would remember what he had seen before in the Land of Ways. "You got it. Are you sure you don't need any help?" Hikaru would nod and say, I can do this." This is when Orochimaru would say, "Oh no you don't," as he pushes forward. The fox's chakra would begin to explode over Hikaru, as he tells Orochimaru he's not going to let him hurt his friends. As the snake and Hikaru go flying to the forest together, Orochimaru pursues Sasuke, as just before Sasuke can escape, he's bitten on the neck. "Damn it," Hikaru would say, as he can feel the Nine-Tails chakra beginning to fade after he'd just finished off the snake. As soon as the mark is imbued into Sasuke, he feels a burning pain as he screams, covering his neck. Orochimaru would laugh as Hikaru comes flying in with chakra chains wrapping around Orochimaru and stabbing and piercing him from all over. Seemingly blood shoots out before it turns to dirt as Orochimaru fades into the tree below, turning into nothing, escaping the area. "Damn it!" Hikaru would say as he rushes down, the fox's chakra deactivating as his eyes return back to the normal blue that they usually were. As he runs over to see if Sasuke's alright, Sasuke falls to the ground. "Sasuke, are you alright?" Hikaru would say as he falls to the ground himself, passed out from overexerting himself. Sakura would ask if they're alright, with no response. She'd pick up her two teammates as she begins to wander deeper into the Forest of Death. As she finally sees a grotto with some trees covering it, she finds a sheltered, shady area. She would pick up her teammates and put them down as she lays them onto a tree branch. She would then go to the nearby stream and get water, where she puts it on a cloth to cool down their foreheads as both of them are burning up, especially Sasuke. Eventually, she would hear rustling nearby as she sees 3 sound ninja beginning to approach, looking for 2 shinobi. No, they're looking for Hikaru and Sasuke. As she hears the 3 of them calling out their names, she stays absolutely quiet when the 3 of them come into view. Sakura stands out from the trees as she decides she's going to have to sacrifice herself to save her teammates, if that's what it takes for Sasuke. As Sakura gets out, she then says that she's over here, and then a sound trio would ask, "Where's Sasuke Uchiha and Hikaru Uzumaki?" She would then say that they're gone, they left her behind. They would laugh, saying, "That's a funny trick, girl," as they begin to fight her. Sakura would try her best to defend herself against the 3, but she's beaten and bruised. As the girl holds her hair up, Sakura takes a kunai and slashes it, her pink hair falling all over the forest as she falls to the ground in tears. Suddenly, Rock Lee would appear as he begins to fight to protect Sakura, but he's outmatched by the 3 of them as he falls to the ground. As suddenly something happens, Sasuke would awaken as the curse mark's power overflows him as he stands up. Hikaru would also begin to awaken as he sees his friend Sasuke. Through blurred eyes, he sees Sasuke covered with these black markings. As Sasuke walks into the clearing, he would say, Get away from them. Now. The three of them, the sound ninja, would tell him that that's who they were looking for. Now where's Hikaru? Hikaru would stand up as he hobbles out, telling Sasuke that they can take him together. Sasuke would whisper for him to stay back, and at this time he's got this guy, remembering how Hikaru had taken that guy from before with the snakes. Hikaru would fall down to the ground again, telling him thanks, as Sasuke instantly appears forward, blitzing behind the one with the windpipes in his arms, as he grabs his arms and begins to twist them around, pulling his feet into his back as he pushes down his spine. My arms! No! This guy would say, as the sound ninja can feel his arms begin to dislocate from his joints. As the windpipes inside of him begin to crack, he can feel the sound power that he'd been given, his own jutsu, begin to crack and be taken away from him. Sasuke would then say, "This is what happens when you take or hurt anything from my friends." As he pushes him to the ground, he would then appear next to the girl, who had been holding Sakura hostage, almost, by her hair. He would then punch her in the gut as she goes flying back into a tree, knocked out instantly. The last one, with his eyes open wide, would see Sasuke as he begins to run. Just as he's about to chase him down, Sakura would get up and try and hug Sasuke from behind, telling him that's enough and she can't bear to see him like this. Sasuke's hair would flow down as the curse marks fade back to its original curse mark. Sasuke would be awake now along with Hikaru, who would slowly stand up. Lee would say thanks for the assist and that he was always there to protect Sakura, as he gets up into the tree saying goodbye to them as he runs off. Team 7 would eventually come into contact with Kabuto, who would assist them into getting to the final part of the Chunin exams. After seeing that only Sasuke had received the curse mark, he would think that something must have happened for Hikaru not to have been taken. Anyway, that's problems for later, as at least they have one vessel for Orochimaru that's possible and suitable for him. Kabuto would have to meet up with Orochimaru later to see if he's alright, as the plan had originally been to take both of its two students. As Hikaru and Sasuke, along with Sakura, would finally make it to the middle tower, they would be one of the final people to arrive in their teams, with their Earth and Heaven scroll taken. As both of their scrolls are now turned into Iruka-sensei, Iruka would tell them congratulations, with all three of them nodding and saying thank you in a bow. As they would then take a seat, Sasuke would feel pain in his shoulder and neck, telling Hikaru that he was actually fine, and that there's no way that he'll be beaten down by something as silly as this. Hikaru would laugh and nod, telling him there's no way that they're going to get taken out this year in the Chunin exams. Sakura would sigh as she asked Sasuke if he's really feeling okay. Sasuke would nod as he says it just burns a little, as the examinations would begin. In this round, Hikaru would be facing against the Inuzuka, another sensory type first. This should be fun, Hikaru would say as he jumps down to the arena below, cracking his neck as he begins to exercise, and as he stretches his limbs. Kiba would get into the arena with Akamaru and say that he hasn't fought Hikaru in such a long time. This time he's definitely going to beat him for sure, though. Hikaru would laugh as he says, "Try me, dog boy." Kiba would smirk as he says this is going to be easier than eating a piece of cake. As he goes flying forward using the Fang over Fang technique, Akamaru and Kiba would go flying towards Hikaru. Hikaru holds one hand out, and as Kiba crashes into him, he stops his spinning with only one hand, slowly twisting him the other way as Kiba and Akamaru stop, held in Naruto's palm. Naruto would then say, "I win," as he activates the sealing jutsu he had, which had been a reverse spiral. As he uses this, the two begin to spiral backwards, as he reverses their World Run technique as they go flying into the arena floor below. Both Akamaru and Kiba are sent back flying, as he walks forward, asking if they've had enough. They laugh as they say that's not going to take them down. Just as they say this, however, pulls his hand up, saying they didn't catch the birdie. As soon as all the chains come flying around, they wrap Akamaru and Kiba up in one large ball, beginning to drain their chakra. Kiba would say he gives up as Hikaru takes an easy victory. Sasuke would clap for Hikaru, as in the stands both Sakura and Sasuke are cheering, with Hinata holding ointment out and asking if he might need any assistance. Hikaru would smile and say thanks to Hinata, which would have Kurenai smiling. This is when Yuki would also smile as she pats Hinata on the head, saying that Hikaru's a good guy. Hinata's face would go cherry red as she begins to tell Yuki to stop teasing her. Her older cousin would laugh as she pats Hinata on the head, telling her that there's nothing to worry about, as her secret's safe with her. Hikaru would be backed by Sasuke already, telling him and asking if he's really going to be alright in his fight. Sasuke would scoff and say his fight will be up soon anyway, as he begins to jump down to the arena below. As he gets into the arena to fight the Sound Ninja, he realizes that this guy has the ability to drain chakra, similar to how Hikaru can. However, this guy has to have physical contact with you. Sasuke would laugh, telling him that he's seen an ability similar to this before, and he's already been it once. As the guy tries to get a hand on Sasuke, Sasuke feels the burning as he can't use his chakra, and he uses purely taijutsu. He throws kunai to keep him back, as he then rushes forward. Just like threading the needle, Sasuke would think, as he dives, flying directly underneath this genin, as he slams his foot upward directly into, well, ugh. This guy goes flying into the air as he screams in pain, feeling everything hurt. As he falls to the ground, he feels himself in utter pain as he gives up. Sasuke would laugh as he says that it's the easiest technique in the book to beat someone. If he can't touch him, then he wins. Sasuke would then fall onto his knee as he says he probably needs some help now. Hikaru would jump down to the stands as he helps Sasuke up. Kakashi would be monitoring the Chunin exams in this version as he sees Sasuke's curse mark. He would interrupt Yuki and pat her on the shoulders, telling her that something's going on with Sasuke's shoulder, and he should probably let him see it. She would allow him to as Kakashi pats Sasuke and tells him that he can talk to him in the basement. As Kakashi and Sasuke go downstairs, Hikaru would go back up. When they would get down there, Kakashi would tell him that he has already seen the curse mark Orochimaru had planted on him. What? He would say, as he had no idea that this ninja, Kakashi, had actually known about Orochimaru. Kakashi would introduce himself to Sasuke for the first time and tell him that he actually is able to seal that for him. Sasuke would say that'd be greatly appreciated as Kakashi begins the sealing process. Once the entire curse mark is sealed, suddenly Orochimaru comes out from the shadows, which causes Kakashi to get spooked. Orochimaru would say, "Damn it, that brat Hikaru escaped my grasp for now, just like his older brother did, and your older brother Itachi Uchiha." As Sasuke looks at him with complete malice, Orochimaru would say that he'll meet him again, as he fades off into the shadows. We have a small flashback of seeing Orochimaru confronting Itachi, and just as he's about to try and pierce Itachi with the curse mark to take his body, we see Naruto appearing just as he's about to, and asking what he's going to do to his friend. As Orochimaru is shocked, Itachi turns around and punches Orochimaru, sending him flying back, as he turns into crows. This is when Naruto's eyes begin to gleam red as he shoots a heat ray vision directly into Orochimaru and his Akatsuki uniform, causing him to start burning. I heard snakes don't like being in the sun too long, or freezing. Naruto's blue eyes and blonde hair would flow over him as his Akatsuki uniform glimmers red in the sunshine. Damn you, Naruto," Orochimaru would say, as he then tells Itachi and Naruto that he'll meet them again someday, as he fades away, turning into snakes and skittering off. Itachi and Naruto fade into the background as we see Hikaru, Sasuke, and Sakura waiting for their final part of the Chunin exams. After seeing Rock Lee and Gaara's fight, it's finally time for Neji and Hinata's battle. As Hinata gets into the battle, Hikaru wishes her good luck, and she smiles. As the battle begins, Hikaru is cheering Hinata on, telling her to do her best. As they fight, it's becoming more and more evident that Neji's going to win, as he tells Hinata not to give up. Hinata says that's her ninja way, to never give up, just like Hikaru. As Hikaru had stated many times before, he's never going to give up until he finds the answer, the truth, the reasoning to all things, and become one of the strongest shinobi. As he sees Hinata fall, Neji is almost going too far. As he's about to go too far, Hikaru says, "Stop it," in a loud voice. Neji stops his final palm attack as Hinata is already on the ground, with much damage covering her, as well as her ribs and other internal organs have been damaged by the gentle fist style. They'd immediately have a medical team rush in, as Hikaru would jump down to see if she's alright. Neji would laugh as he says that the weaklings will be weaklings after all. This is when suddenly he's punched in the face, sent flying to the next wall and crashing into it, sending it crumbling. Hikaru would then say, "If you really want to fight me that bad, then we'll do it in the next round of the Chunin exams. And in this next round, I'm not going to just send you into a wall," he would say. Red chakra would gleam over his body for a mere instant, when 3 Jonin appear around him with sealing jutsu about to activate. Hikaru looks all 3 of them in the eye, having tracked their movements, telling them that this isn't going to go any farther. Hikaru would eye Neji as he walks back into the stands, calmly sitting down next to Sasuke. Sasuke would be in awe and also extremely excited and pissed off at what Hikaru had done. "You idiot, you could have gotten yourself excluded and kicked out of the Chunin exams." But he then says that was pretty awesome. Neji is patting his wounds as he thinks that this Hikaru might be an interesting fight after all, as he actually got through his 360-degree defense, even though it was a cheap shot. Hikaru would say that he has some training to do before the next Chunin exams, so hopefully it's not today. After the Chunin exams had now ended, they would then state what the next examination would be. In 1 month, all of the genin here who have survived this challenge will begin to take place in the final tournament. Those who win will be considered to become a Chunin. If you are picked, then you'll be risen to the next rank of Chunin. Everyone splits up as Sasuke decides he already knows who he wants to train with. Sakura would ask their master, Yuki, if she could train her in more taijutsu style, as Yuki would tell Sakura she can. Hikaru would wander off, as Sasuke goes to track down the Kakashi guy to ask him if he can train him. Hikaru would decide he needs to work on his seals, as he decides he's going to become even stronger. As he walks off, he would see an old man with a red uniform, drunk, as he's walking around oogling girls and telling them, catcalling them off the street. Hikaru would go over to the old man and tell him he's bothering people. Jiraiya would then turn around and ask who he is. My name? Oh, it's Hikaru. Hikaru Uzumaki. Well, this is the first half for the finale for What If Naruto Was Kryptonian. Sorry if I said a few things, but this now has kind of phased into a Hikaru part of it. Hikaru will eventually meet back up with Naruto, Itachi, and Sasuke again. We'll get into the second part of the original Naruto timeline before we get into Shippuden, which will be pretty interesting. So I hope you guys are ready for that. The next part will also be like an hour or an hour and a half long, since we still have to cover the last half of the original Naruto, and then get all of Shippuden. So get excited for another like 2 hours of video. This has been a while. I'm probably going to go and take a break and get some water or something. But if you guys really like what I'm doing, make sure to hit the like button, comment down below what you think, and subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 5,000 subscribers. Thank all of you guys so much. If you guys want, you can go check out my second channel as well. We're almost at 300 subscribers there. I post gaming videos and other random stuff there if you want. Anyway, I will see all of you guys there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.